Hi, this is Brendan from WATO Training, and in this trainer tutorial we look at the QSafe performance check. QSafe is Queensland's current practical driving test, designed to evaluate a person's ability to drive safely and correctly in different driving situations. It is a performance-based assessment as opposed to a competency-based assessment. A performance check is an important aspect of the driving task that the examiner is required to assess. For example, steering and road position, the list goes on. A driving examiner won't assess an applicant on an item outside the performance checks. So for example, an applicant will not be asked by the driving assessor to conduct an under the bonnet inspection in the assessment, as it is not a performance check. Here is the driver assessment report used in the QSafe system in Queensland. Up the top we've got the applicant's details. Section A, we've got specific driving situations. Section B, manoeuvres. Section C, pre-drive checks. Section D, operational skills. And Section E, hazard recognition and decision-making skills. And that big blank rectangle in the middle is where the examiner would put their appraisal of the driver's performance. Let's take a look at the pre-drive performance checks as per the assessment form. So for all classes, the learner must be able to adjust the mirrors, operate the headlights and the dip, the wipers, the washers, demister, air conditioning, hazard lights, and seat adjustment. Our truck drivers from the MR, HR, and HC classes need to identify and operate the auxiliary brake and the trailer brake. And this is all from Section C from the driver assessment report form. The circles that you can see are ticked when the assessor actually assesses those items, and the crosses go in the boxes if the applicant is not able to identify and operate those controls. Vehicle operation performance checks. The learner must be able to locate and control the ancillary controls, clutch control for manual drivers, stalling, relevant for manual drivers, accelerator, gears, steering control and operation, braking, road position, maneuver positions, left and right turn positions before and after a corner. And this is in Section D under vehicle operation, and you can see that we've got that same list on the left of the column, and as it says at the top, a cross is marked in the boxes for the different types of areas, which I will go through shortly. We've got Section E now, hazard recognition and decision-making performance checks. So, observation and scanning, shoulder checks, mirrors, signalling, traffic hazards, judgment, safety margins, progress, signs, signals and markings, and speed. And uncouple, recouple for the trucks. So if you take a look at the table on the right, you'll see that same list that I just went through, and then we've got the boxes where the different types of driving errors are marked by the examiner. Now we'll go through the manoeuvres for the cars and the trucks. For the cars, we've got the reverse park, turn around, U-turn, hill start, reversing exercise, gear changing for automatic drivers only. In the trucks, we've got the reversing exercise, the hill start, the gear changing exercise, the uncouple, recouple. And that's in Section B on the driver assessment report form. And the assessor will tick the box for the items that are covered in the assessment. Performance checks apply to all the manoeuvres. What does that mean? For example, if a learner does not conduct a shoulder check in an assessment during a U-turn manoeuvre, it will be recorded against the shoulder check performance check. So let's take a look at where the examiner would mark that. So first of all, we've got the section where that's relevant, and if you just identify shoulder check section from the top, and I'll just circle that, that would be marked down as a non-critical driving error. And you can see there's a number of boxes there that can be crossed. Okay, now we go into the specific driving situations. These are all the situations that get covered by the examiners in a driving assessment. So we've got intersections, crossings, high and low speed, different types of traffic density and lane driving. These are all populated in the section A on the driver assessment report form, and the examiner ticks those little circles as they go through those different situations. Now, the examiners have a pretty good idea of where they're going to go on the test to achieve those items with their test circuits. So it's not common that they'll sit there and tick away as they go through them. They'll normally do that at the end of the assessment. Types of driving errors in the QSAFE testing system. So we've got QSAFE has a set of criteria based on errors which are recorded by the assessor. We've got non-critical driving errors, critical driving errors, general critical driving errors, and specific repeated driving errors. Let's take a look at each of those now. Okay, non-critical driving errors abbreviated to NCDE. This is a driving error that does not by itself compromise safety to road users or the safe operation of the vehicle. So that means that when the student makes this type of error, generally nobody's going to get hurt from it, but it was not best practice and it could have been done better, for example. So they would be marked down in those boxes under NCDE. The applicant can make up to 8 NCDEs. Once they go above that, e.g. 9 or more NCDEs, they will be unsuccessful in the driving assessment. So that's marked in those boxes there. Okay, critical driving errors. This is a driving error that compromises the safety of any road user or indicates an inappropriate level of skill or ability. So this is serious. This is when they've done something like driven to a stop sign or gone over the speed limit or failed to give way. So these are marked in the far right column. So we've got section E here. We can see the CDE on the far right column. And if a cross gets marked in one of those, it's all over Red Rover. Okay, next we go to the general critical driving errors. So these are critical driving errors as well, but they're more of a general nature, and there's 4 different types. The examiner intervening either verbally or physically. For example, they might yell stop because someone might be reversing back and someone might be standing behind them, grabbing the steering wheel, or using the dual controls in the car, to name a few. The test vehicle strikes another object, e.g. a curb, a sign, or a power pole. A dangerous situation is created by the learner's driving, which results in another road user being forced to take evasive action to prevent a collision or any other danger. And finally, the learner disobeys a direction from a police officer, a school crossing supervisor, and/or an authorized traffic controller. Okay, these are specific repeated driving errors, SRDE. A specific repeated driving error, SRDE, is marked when the applicant accrues 6 non-critical driving errors for a certain performance check. So they've only got these marked on certain performance checks, but if the student makes the same error again and again and again and again and again, they can add up to an SRDE. So the example that we're using here is signaling. So we've got 6 errors on that particular performance check. If I was a learner doing a driving test and I drove through 6 roundabouts, let's say, and every single one of those roundabouts I failed to indicate correctly, there would be little crosses filling up in those boxes, and when I hit number 6, unfortunately, it would be curtains. Test would be unsuccessful. Okay, vehicle operation performance checks. So what I'm going to go through now is the description of the performance outcome for each of the vehicle operation performance checks. Ancillary controls. The applicant should operate or adjust all ancillary controls of the test vehicle correctly whilst maintaining full control of the vehicle. So we're talking air conditioning, hazard lights, window controls, washers and wipers if it starts raining, for example. Okay, next one, clutch. The applicant should control the clutch in a manner that produces a smooth take-up of power to the driving wheels and assists in changing gears. Stalling. The applicant should control the vehicle to prevent unnecessary stalling. Accelerator. The applicant should operate the accelerator pedal smoothly and progressively for both acceleration and deceleration. Gears. The applicant should demonstrate correct usage of all the gears appropriate for speed, vehicle, and driving conditions. Steering control. The learner is expected to steer a safe and steady course and maintain the correct course in a manner that is appropriate for the road and traffic conditions. If you look at the diagrams down the bottom, we've got a demonstration of a left and a right turn, and you can see that the student is not in control of their road position in each of those examples. The other type is steering operation. That's actually what you do with the steering wheel. The applicant should operate the steering device in an appropriate manner, that is hand over hand or the pull-push method. I've got YouTube videos on each of those methods, which are worth having a look at if you're not sure about those. Braking. The applicant should use the brakes in a manner that is appropriate for the situation. In general, they should slow the vehicle smoothly and progressively. The handbrake should be used only when the vehicle is stationary. Now that comment, in general, they should slow the vehicle smoothly and progressively. The exception would be an emergency situation, e.g. someone pulls out in front of you, well then you go to the brakes firm and hard and pull the vehicle up. Road position. The test vehicle should be in the correct road position appropriate to the road or traffic situation. So a variable in this situation might be a cyclist riding along the side of the road, in which case the driver in vehicle A would need to adjust their road position accordingly. Maneuver position. So this is where the vehicle ends up during the maneuvers. During the reverse park U-turn, turnaround maneuver, straight reverse and heavy vehicle reversing maneuvers, the maneuvering vehicle should be positioned within the stated guidelines. I've got YouTube videos on the maneuvers with the stated guidelines for you to check that out if you're not sure about those. Okay, left turn position, performance outcome. The applicant should negotiate a variety of left turn situations, including lane and unlaned roads, roundabouts, traffic lights, stop signs, give way signs, and uncontrolled crossroads. The applicant should select and maintain an appropriate position on approach, during, and immediately after the turn. Right turn position. The applicant should negotiate a variety of right turn situations, including laned and unlaned roads, roundabouts, traffic lights, stop signs, give way signs, and uncontrolled crossroads. The applicant should select and maintain an appropriate position on approach, during, and immediately after the turn. Now let's take a look at the hazard recognition decision-making performance checks. Observation, scanning, and shoulder checks. The learner should scan, observe, and monitor the driving environment in every direction as appropriate to the driving task. Mirrors. The learner should use the rear vision mirrors on the approach to any hazard or potential hazard. Signalling. The applicant should signal in the correct direction long enough to give sufficient warning to other drivers and pedestrians when intending to turn, diverge, move into the edge of the road or curb, enter a line of traffic, at a T-section where the continuing road curves to the left or the right, leaving the continuing road to proceed straight ahead onto the terminating road. The applicant should signal in the correct direction for 5 seconds before moving off from a stationary position. Hazard detection. The learner should detect and respond appropriately to any hazard during the course of the test. For example, out of order traffic lights, school crossings, railway crossings, cyclists. Judgment. The applicant should judge and utilise a safe gap in traffic when negotiating intersections, lane changing or merging, and without causing other road users to take evasive action. The applicant should make a correct decision and respond appropriately with regard to judgment of the speed and distance of any traffic or pedestrians. Safety margins. The applicant should ensure there is an appropriate buffer zone in front of and to the sides of the vehicle, and that it is the correct position when stopped in a line of traffic. Progress, and also speed as well. The applicant should progress with the general flow of traffic at a speed that is not excessive for the situation and without exceeding the speed limit. Acceleration should be smooth, progressive, and appropriate for the traffic conditions. Signs, signals, and road markings. The applicant should obey any regulatory road sign, traffic signal, and road marking. Heavy vehicles, uncouple, recouple sequence. The applicant an applicant for the Class HC license is required to uncouple the trailer, drive forward approximately 10 meters, and then reverse back onto the trailer to recouple, ready to drive off. The applicant should be able to uncouple and recouple the trailer, having regard for all safe practices in the correct sequence within approximately 12 minutes. Thank you for watching. This has been Brendan from Watto Training.